Last year, a 78-year-old man named Frank moved into a nursing home. Within 6 months, he lost 12 pounds, stopped attending group events, and barely spoke to his daughter on the phone. What happened? Was it the home, the staff, or was it something deeper, something preventable? Most people don't realize they're making critical mistakes when they move into a nursing home. Mistakes that slowly steal their independence, their ability to make their own choices, keep their minds sharp, and feel in control of their lives. Could this happen to you or someone you love? Stick with me because today we're going to talk about 5 essential rules that protect your independence after 75, even if you're already in a nursing home or considering moving into one. And I promise, the last rule is one that even most families overlook, and it could make the biggest difference. The truth is, many seniors lose their independence not because of age, but because of poor planning, lack of advocacy, and daily habits that chip away at their freedom. Are you unknowingly setting yourself up to feel powerless? Are you doing things today that might take away your choices tomorrow? According to a 2023 study by the National Institute on Aging, nearly 68% of adults over 75 in nursing homes experience a decline in personal autonomy within the first year. That means losing the ability to decide when to wake up, what to eat, or even when to go outside. And here's the hardest part: most of this is preventable. Let me introduce you to Carol. She's 76, sharp as a tack, and moved into a nursing home after her hip replacement. But unlike Frank, she's still active, social, and manages her own daily routine. Why the difference? She followed these 5 rules. And so can you. Whether you're considering a move, helping a parent transition, or you're already living in a home, this video is your step-by-step guide to keeping your independence, dignity, and control. So let's dive in. But first, comment "ready" below if you or someone you know is facing this decision right now. It helps us support each other because no one should feel alone in this stage of life. And remember, Rule 5 might sound small, but according to a Harvard study published in 2024, it could actually lower your risk of cognitive decline by nearly 38%. So be sure to stick around. Let's begin with the first rule. It's something most people overlook completely, and it starts before you even move in. Rule 1: don't let the routine take over. What time is breakfast? 7:00 a.m. And what if I want to sleep in? Well, we serve everyone at 7. That simple answer. It's how independence begins to fade, one decision at a time. Let me tell you about Nancy, 80 years old, a retired music teacher who loved slow mornings, reading the paper with her tea at 9 and taking long walks mid-morning. But when she moved into a nursing facility, her schedule became fixed. Wake up at 6:30, breakfast by 7, activities at 9, medication at 11, lights out by 9 p.m. At first, Nancy didn't mind. It's just for now, she told herself. But weeks turned into months, her walks got shorter, she stopped playing the piano, and that slow, quiet joy of mornings, gone. According to a 2022 study by the Gerontological Society of America, strict institutional routines are one of the top contributors to early-onset depression and cognitive decline in nursing home residents. Why? Because your sense of control, your ability to make personal choices, directly impacts your brain's health. When choices disappear, the brain begins to disengage. It's not the age that causes decline. It's the loss of agency. Here's the good news: you can take control back, even inside a structured system. Before or right after moving in, sit down with staff and say, "I'd like to keep my current schedule for mornings, meals, and hobbies. Can that be arranged?" Most modern homes are increasingly flexible, but only if you speak up. If you don't advocate for your needs, staff will assume the default routine is fine for you. Pick 3 things that make you feel like you. Maybe it's waking up after 8 a.m., playing cards after lunch, or enjoying tea outdoors before dinner. Write them down, share them with family, bring them up with the nursing home director. According to a 2024 Mayo Clinic review, maintaining just 2-3 personal habits daily in a care setting can reduce feelings of helplessness by over 40%. Ask them to check in on whether your preferences are being respected. Sometimes, having someone else mention it makes a big difference. Have you or your loved one had to adjust to a routine that didn't feel right? Pause for a moment, think about it. If this hits home, comment "My time matters" below. let's remind each other that age should never erase our preferences. Coming up next, a subtle habit that seems harmless, but according to new research, it doubles your risk of falling within your first year in a nursing home. And it's something nearly everyone does without realizing it. Stick around, this one could literally save your mobility. Rule 2: never stop moving, even in small ways. Frank used to walk every morning, just around the block, nothing fancy. But after he moved into the nursing home, things changed. It's safer to stay inside, the nurse told him. Let's wait until physical therapy is scheduled. Use the wheelchair just in case. Weeks passed, then months, and one morning Frank reached down to tie his shoes and lost his balance. That fall sent him to the hospital. He never walked unassisted again. According to a 2024 study by the American Geriatric Society, seniors in nursing homes who walk less than 15 minutes per day are 2x more likely to experience a fall within the first year. Why? Because the body, especially over 75, needs movement to maintain balance, coordination, and strength. Even skipping light activity for a few weeks leads to muscle atrophy, slower reaction time, and reduced blood flow to the brain. And here's the kicker: most falls happen not because of accidents, but because the body simply isn't used to moving anymore. You don't need a treadmill or a gym membership. You just need motion every single day. Here what helps. White heavy check mark micro movements. March in place while watching TV. Stand and stretch during commercials. Do light leg lifts while sitting in a chair. According to a Johns Hopkins study, 2023, these mini moves improve circulation and reduce fall risk by 28%. White heavy check mark scheduled walks. Even 5 minutes around the hallway after each meal helps digestion, lowers blood sugar, and keeps the legs strong. Walk with a buddy if balance is a concern. White heavy check mark family movement log. If you're helping a parent or spouse, keep a simple movement log. Did mom stretch today? Did dad do his hallway lap? That little accountability goes a long way. Remember Carol, she sets a timer on her watch. It buzzes every hour. When it does, she stands up, does 10 toe touches, and takes 10 steps. It's silly, she laughs, but I've never felt steadier on my feet. Sometimes the smallest movements create the strongest outcomes. Have you moved in the last hour? Try standing up right now, take 5 slow steps and come back. When you return, comment "still moving." Let's celebrate movement together because every step matters. Up next, one daily habit that seems comforting, even kind. But according to Harvard Health, it may quietly lead to memory loss and irritability in over 60% of seniors. It's a common emotional trap, and we're diving in next. Rule 3: don't say yes to everything. Nancy loved being helpful. So when the staff asked her to change her bingo time to afternoons instead of mornings, she said, sure. When her roommate wanted the window closed, Nancy smiled and said, that's okay. When the nurse brought her tea instead of coffee, she thanked her and drank it anyway. After all, it's polite, right? But slowly, Nancy's daily life stopped looking like her own. She wasn't doing what made her feel most alive, she was just avoiding being difficult. And that's when the emotional fog set in. Here's the problem: saying yes all the time, especially to keep the peace, leads to something called passive withdrawal. According to a 2024 Harvard Health report, over 60% of seniors in long-term care develop mild depressive symptoms within the first year, often linked to losing their voice in daily choices. It's not just about what you say. It's about whether you're still making choices for yourself. When you say no to something that doesn't serve you, even gently, you reinforce cognitive control. That's a fancy way of saying your brain stays sharp when you stand up for your preferences. Neuroscience from the University of Michigan, 2023, shows that self-assertion activates the prefrontal cortex, the decision-making center, which can slow down memory loss and cognitive fatigue. Let's make this actionable without feeling rude. White heavy check mark, use the kind no. Practice saying, I'd rather do it my usual way if that's okay. Thank you, but I'm more comfortable with this. I appreciate it, but I'll stick to what works for me. These are polite, respectful, and still honor your independence. White heavy check mark, create a personal preferences sheet. This is a list of your favorite foods, daily schedule choices, noise light preferences, social needs, e.g., I need quiet time after lunch. Give it to the care staff and your family. The more visible your preferences are, the more likely they are to be honored. White heavy checkmark, ask family to reinforce your voice. Ask your son, daughter, or caregiver to say, "Hey, mom really loves her mornings slow. That's not how dad likes his tea." Sometimes a second voice can support your own. Remember Frank from earlier. His daughter noticed he kept saying yes to things that made him unhappy. So she asked him, "Dad, are you doing what you want?" He paused and said quietly, "I'm not sure anymore." That one conversation led them to revisit his routine, and slowly, Frank got his mornings, his books, and even his favorite tea back. Have you said yes recently just to be polite when you didn't really want to? Take a moment, think about it. Then comment "I deserve to choose" below, because your preferences matter, no matter where you live. Coming up next, one surprising thing you should absolutely avoid doing alone in a nursing home. Most people assume it's harmless, but a 2024 Mayo Clinic study shows it's linked to a 47% spike in both injury and anxiety in seniors. Stick with me, this next rule might surprise you. Rule 4, do handle this alone. Joe was always independent. Served in the Navy, built his own tool shed, drove himself until 84. So when he moved into the nursing home at 85, he told his son, "I'll be fine, you don't have to check on me so much." At first, everything seemed okay. But Joe started skipping meals. He forgot to take his meds on time. And when he had trouble sleeping, he didn't mention it to anyone. 3 months later, he was hospitalized for dehydration and confusion. Too many seniors believe that asking for help means losing control. But in reality, isolation, even in a place full of people, is one of the most dangerous threats to your independence. A Mayo Clinic report from 2024 found that seniors who avoid seeking help or communication in nursing homes are 47% more likely to suffer from preventable issues like infections, falls, emotional distress, and skipped medications. Being tough doesn't protect your independence. Being supported does. This rule isn't about giving up control. It's about building a small, personal support circle, people you trust to protect your independence alongside you. Here's how. White heavy checkmark, identify your independence allies. These are a staff member who listens, a fellow resident you connect with, a family member or friend who checks in weekly. Tell them directly, "Hey, I want to stay as independent as possible. Can I count on you to help me notice when I start slipping?" White heavy check mark, to be afraid to overcommunicate. Tell the nurse if you feel dizzy. Tell your daughter if the new routine doesn't suit you. Tell your roommate if the TV is too loud at night. According to the National Institute on Aging, 2023, residents who regularly share concerns with staff and family maintain higher autonomy scores over a 12-month period. White heavy checkmark, use technology, even a little. A simple video call once a week. A reminder app for medications. Or even joining a Facebook group for seniors. Social touchpoints matter, and they keep your brain, heart, and spirit stronger. Remember Carol. She made a simple rule. Every Wednesday I call my niece, every Sunday my church friend visits, and if I feel off, I tell the nurse immediately. Simple, quiet, and consistent. But that small system, it's why she stayed independent, active, and emotionally grounded at 76. Take a second, who's in your support circle right now? If you've got at least one person you trust, comment "I'm not alone" below. And if you're still building your circle, that's okay. Let this video be part of it, we're here with you. Now this final rule. Most people ignore it because it feels small or personal. But a 2024 Stanford study shows it could reduce the risk of cognitive decline by 38%, and it has to do with something you haven't thought much about. Stick around, this last rule can completely change the way you feel every single day. Rule 5: personalize your environment. When you walk into Carol's room, it doesn't feel like a nursing home. On her wall, photos of her garden from back home. On her shelf, a small music box from her wedding day. By her bed, a lavender-scented pillow her daughter made for her. "I wake up every day feeling like me," she says, "not just someone in a facility." Now compare that to Frank, who never unpacked. Bare walls, hospital blankets, no photos, no music. His room was functional but not personal. 6 months in, he barely left his bed. According to a 2024 Stanford study, seniors who personalize their environment experience a 38% lower risk of cognitive decline over 1 year compared to those in sterile or depersonalized settings. Why? Because visual and sensory cues, familiar objects, smells, photos, textures stimulate the brain, trigger memories, and maintain identity. When you lose your space, you start losing your sense of self. You don't need a huge room or fancy decor. You just need to make the space yours. White heavy checkmark personal items that matter. Bring 2-3 framed photos, family, places, pets. A blanket or pillow from home. One item that connects to your passion, a knitting basket, old records, a favorite book. These are extras, they're anchors to your identity. White heavy checkmark use scent and sound. Lavender or eucalyptus oils, calm, sleep, memory. Familiar music trigger emotional memory and calm. A small sound machine for comfort. Research from the Journal of Alzheimer's Care, 2023, shows that certain smells and music can help reduce anxiety and confusion in seniors by up to 44%. White heavy checkmark, rearrange the space to reflect you. Ask staff if you can shift furniture. Place your chair by the window if you love light. Move your keepsakes where you can see them. You don't have to accept the default layout. This is your home, not a hotel. Nancy used to have a soft blue nightlight at home. It reminded her of the ocean. She didn't bring it to the home at first. But after a few restless weeks, her daughter visited and noticed something was off. They brought the nightlight back. That night, Nancy slept for 7 hours straight, the first full night since moving in. Sometimes just one object can reconnect you to peace. Take a moment, look around your current room. What's one item you've not brought with you that makes you feel like yourself? If you know what it is, comment "my room, my rules" below. Let's inspire each other to take our space back. Let's quickly recap the 5 rules that protect your independence in a nursing home. Don't let the routine take over. Keep your habits and schedule in your hands. Never stop moving. Even small steps can save your strength. Do say yes to everything. Your voice matters more than ever. Do handle it alone. Let others help you stay strong. Personalize your environment. Your space is your identity. Own it. If you're facing the decision to move or already living in a care home, just remember, you haven't lost your independence. You're just learning new ways to protect it. Try changing just one thing this week. Speak up about your routine, add movement after lunch, or bring in that photo you miss seeing. You deserve to feel in control, no matter where you live. If this video helped you, please like, subscribe, and share it with someone making this journey. We're building a community where aging doesn't mean disappearing, it means thriving with strength together. Before we go, I want you to remember this. Independence doesn't vanish with age, it fades when we stop protecting it. Whether you're 75 or 95, your choices, your habits, and your environment still matter. And each of these 5 rules gives you the power to reclaim your days, your voice, and your peace. Even if you just start with one, like adding a daily 10-minute walk or bringing your favorite pillow into your room, you'll feel the difference. Speech balloon. In fact, I'd love to hear from you. What's one small change you're going to make this week? Drop it in the comments. Let's encourage each other with ideas. And if you found this video helpful, White heavy check mark like it helps more people see it. White heavy check mark subscribe for weekly tips on living well, staying sharp and thriving after 65. White heavy check mark share with a friend, sibling, or parent who might be going through the same thing. You're not alone on this journey, and we'll be right here every step of the way. Hit that subscribe button and I'll see you in the next one.